All signs point to the Pelicans and their newly reconstructed roster having a tough time in the NBA Cup and also during the regular season with a ton of back-to-back games being announced on the schedule, which was released today. We're going to take a deep dive into the schedule and also how it's going to affect this roster inside this edition of Pelicans Digest. What's good with it, y'all? It's your people, Melz on the MIC, back once again on Pelicans Digest. And big shout out to my man Chris for holding it down yesterday, man. Still trying to recover. Still ain't 100%, but we getting there, man. We getting there. And once again, thank you to everybody that subscribed. Continue to subscribe, man. Hit that subscribe button. This is where you get the best analysis and more about the New Orleans Pelicans and daily updates on what's going on with the squad. So hit that subscribe button, man. And let's get into the schedule, which was released today. And the Pelicans, it's going to be a tough road ahead. That's what it looks like to me when I look at the schedule. Of course, some of the big games that were announced, of course, is the season opener. The season's going to start on October 22nd. Against the Grizzlies on the road. So if you plan on making a trip to Memphis, go ahead and make that trip. Also on October 29th, the Pels will visit the Nuggets. And also on November 14th, the LeBron and the Lakers are going to be in town. But we're going to take a deeper dive into the schedule inside this edition and also discuss what's it going to look like for Jeremiah Fears and other guys as we get into it. But let's go ahead and get into the deep dive on what's going on with the schedule. All right, let's take a look at the first month of the schedule in October. All right, of course, I just told you they're going to start the season on October 22nd away on the road against the Memphis Grizzlies. Then on the 24th of October is the home opener against the San Antonio Spurs with Victor Wembanyama. And then on Halloween night is going to be the first of their NBA Cup games. This one is going to be against the Clippers on the road. And again, I'm looking forward to that because this is going to be our first real look at Jeremiah Fears, possibly at point guard in the starting position. So super excited about that. Great matchup. And I don't know if the NBA is trying to start this whole thing as in terms of a rivalry thing between New Orleans and Memphis. I don't know if they're trying to start that because they have two nationally televised games this season for the Pelicans, and one of them is going to be against Memphis, okay? So I think the NBA is trying to start this whole little rivalry thing between New Orleans and Memphis. I don't know if it's really there yet. I don't know. What's your thoughts on it? Get back with your thoughts on it. Let's get into the month of November because this is where things get weird for the Pelicans. For starters, in November, they're going to have 3 back-to-back games, all right? On November 4th and 5th, they're going to play against Charlotte and Dallas. Then on November 16th and 17th, they're going to play against Golden State and the defending NBA champion, Oklahoma City Thunder. And then on November 21st and 22nd, that's my birthday on the 21st, is going to be their second NBA Cup game, this one against the Dallas Mavericks. And then they got to go to Atlanta for a game there. So, again, I think that's where things get weird with the Bells because they got a lot of back-to-back games in November. And that's going to be the real test to see if Zion Williamson or if they're going to use Zion Williamson. Because as we know, last year he was restricted from playing in back-to-back games. Now the question is this season, will they allow him to play in back-to-back games? Because the services are going to be needed. Let's be real here, especially when you start getting into the early part of this season. But then, again, we got the same thing going on in December. 2 back-to-back games, nights on December. And these games are going to be going into Christmas week, all right? They're going to play back-to-back games before Christmas against Dallas and Cleveland. And then they're going to have a 2-game homestand after Christmas in back-to-back nights with Phoenix at home. So that's going to be a good homestand. But right about this point, in my opinion, this is what I think. This is around the time we start hearing the talk of Dejounte Murray possibly starting to come back. Sometime around that time frame. I think that's when you're going to start hearing more and more ramp-up conversations about him coming back in the season and probably starting sometime around January or maybe after the All-Star break. So we're going to keep an eye on that, of course. But that's what I think. I think around that time, around Christmas, around after Christmas time, you're going to start hearing them talk about possibly getting Murray into the lineup. And then we should see where we're at that point. As far as in the season, because at that point, we're pretty much getting closer to damn near the halfway point. Let's move on to January. And again, I think this is when you're going to start seeing Murray possibly start working his way back into the lineup. But then again, there's 3 back-to-backs in the month of January. On January 6th and 7th, they're going to be in against the Lakers and the Hawks. On the 13th and 14th, they're going to do Denver and Brooklyn. And then on January 30th and 31st is Memphis again with Phoenix. But the other weird thing about January, the month of January, is the Pels are going to play 4 straight Sunday road games. And I found that kind of weird. 4 straight Sunday road games against Miami, Orlando, Houston, and the Spurs. And I found that kind of weird. I really did. I found that kind of weird that they would stack so many Sunday games for the Pels. And some of them are going to be starting early afternoon. Other ones are going to be starting at night. But hopefully around this point in the season, we should know where Jordan Poole is at. As far as where he was at last season. If you recall last season, Jordan Poole had career highs with Washington, but of course nobody knew about it. So now, around this point, I'm thinking that we should be able to see where Jordan Poole stands at, and if he's going to have another, hopefully an all-star caliber performance at that point. Hopefully, he'll be at that point. In February, of course, most of that is going to be the All-Star break. But the Pels, once again, will have another back-to-back at home against Milwaukee and Philadelphia coming out of the All-Star break on February 20th and 21st. Then we get into March, where they're going to have 3 more back-to-back games. March 5th and 6th on the road against Sacramento and Phoenix. I think they're going to have the Sacramento game on the road and Phoenix is at home. Then on the 18th and 19th, they're going to have 2 back-to-back games against the Clippers at the Smoothie King Center. And then on March 26th and 27th, they're back on the road for back-to-backs again with Detroit and then Toronto. So, yeah, man. That's why I say there's going to be a lot of back-to-backs for the Pels. And again, one of the things that we know about this team is Zion Williamson's health and the dependence on him in these back-to-back games. A lot of the times the Pels like to sit him out. Will they let him play in a lot of these back-to-back games that they have upcoming in 2025 and 2026? And finally, we're going to wrap things up in April. With 1 back-to-back, all right, 1 back-to-back game. Two on April 2nd and 3rd. They're going to be on the road first against Portland, and then they're going to go to Sacramento, I think, at home for that game. So that's going to be weird. And also on April 7th will be their last home game, fittingly enough, against the Utah Jazz. It's always either we're going to end the season with the Jazz or at home against the Jazz. I went to a home opener a year or 2 ago against the Jazz. And so it's always seemed like we start the season with the Jazz or end with the Jazz. I don't know, that's some kind of fun game that the NBA is playing with our name and the Jazz and the Pelicans and all that. And then the final game will be on April 12th against the Minnesota Timberwolves, which should be a tough matchup right there. And also, hopefully, this will determine that around that point of the season, we'll be determining playoff seeding for the Pelicans if they can make it that far. But the schedule is like I said, it's kind of weird to me that the Pels have a lot of back-to-backs. They're already sending them out there to Australia. So it's going to be interesting to see how this team is going to handle a lot of this road chaos this season. I think they're going to be fine at home. They got a couple of back-to-backs at home. But I just think it's going to be weird. They're going to be all over the place. And plus, their NBA Cup schedule is not that great. If you recall, the NBA Cup a season or 2 ago when they got blown out by the Lakers, we haven't done well in the NBA Cup. So I'm really not jazzed up about that Cup schedule, which features, again, the Lakers, the Clippers, Dallas, and Memphis. Okay, I'm not really jazzed up about this. I think we could take Memphis. I think we might have a shot against Dallas. I think we could take the Clippers for this reason alone, because they got a super team and they're all sort of aging veterans. And this roster, as we know it, like I said before, has been really, really reconstructed to be younger and to be faster and to keep up pace. So hopefully that's what's going to happen in those NBA Cup games. But I think the season is very weird, man. I think with all these back-to-back games, I don't like it. I don't. I really don't like it. I kind of at least a back-to-back, 2 or 3 back-to-backs in at least every month this season. So, again, I'm worried about the health of the team at that point and whether or not they're not going to be conservative as far as using players. That's what I hope. I hope they don't take the conservative approach with a lot of these back-to-backs. But I think with the roster the way it's constructed right now, especially if you can alternate between Queen and Zion, because again, I don't see those two on the court together at this point. I see you alternating him in and out for Zion at this point. So if everything is on point, I still say that the Pelicans can make the playoffs with the schedule. I still think they can. It's just depending on how they manage the back-to-backs and the load management, I guess. I guess that's a new term. I ain't want to use that term, but I guess you got to use it. How you going to manage the load management on a lot of these players, man? So it's very interesting to see. Big shout out to Danielle, my Pelicans ticket rep. I went ahead and got season tickets. So I'm going to be in the Willie King Center a whole bunch this season. At least one game a month. I'm going to be at the Smoothie King Center checking out some games. So I went and got my season tickets. Hopefully you go get yours. And we can see each other in the Smoothie King Center because I would like to be there. And I plan on getting some content and interviewing some of y'all and getting y'all thoughts and opinions on it. So right now, what are your thoughts and opinions on the schedule? What do you see in the schedule that we need to work on? Or what do you see in the schedule what games are you most excited about? And what do you think after looking at the schedule where we will be at after the first? I'll go ahead and say up to the All-Star break. Where do you think the Pels will be at based on the All-Star break at this point? My eyes turned up, still dealing with this Bell's policy. But clap back with your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to check out Pelicans Digest. We got your daily dose of analysis, opinions, and more about the New Orleans Pelicans. So clap back with your thoughts about the schedule, the release. What games are you looking forward to? And we'll talk about it in future episodes right here on Pelicans Digest. Thanks so much for tuning in. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and stay locked in with us.